So, have you ever heard this one? My hamstrings are always tight, but I stretch them, but they never seem to change. Well, I hear stuff like this all of the time. Now, the thing is everyone thinks stretching, okay, that's going to improve flexibility. So if something's tight, then sure, that's going to improve it. But so many times people are doing this, but it isn't achieving the result. Now, this is down to a few factors. One of them is feeling tight and being shortened in tissue are two different things. So you can have a long muscle that's been overworked because it's, say, weak and not coping with its activities, which will actually contract into a tightened resting tone, which will make it feel tight, but yet it is still too flexible. So firstly, you need to work out, do I need to stretch? Is stretching the solution to the problem? And it could actually be that stretching isn't the solution and actually strengthening is a solution. But say it is flexibility, say there is shortening of the tissue for your activities, then what you've got to do is you've got to apply the right dose. So stretching is all well and good, a bit like if you've got a chest infection, antibiotics are all well and good, but with the wrong dose, it's ineffective. So you have to have the right dose, and that's where people are going wrong. A lot of people say, my hamstrings are tight, I stretch them all the time. So I'll say, well, when do you stretch them? And they'll go, when I play football. So how often do you do that? 3 times a week. So you're stretching 3 times a week? Yeah. That's not enough. It doesn't achieve the response. If our bodies would just randomly start growing longer tissue with 3 times a week stretching, throughout the course of the day, we would be stimulating growth of tissue in lengthening terms to immense levels. We turn into Mr. and Mrs. Soft. We become floppy messes. So as you can see, the body needs more than that to realize it's a common daily issue to then make fundamental changes to it. The other thing is the time frame as well. It takes a long time to grow tissue. If you're stretching muscle, then muscle can relax its resting tone, it gets more stretch tolerant, and you can perceive more range of movement, but the tissues haven't grown in the shorter term. Studies show that below 6 weeks, nothing's happening, and then go more like 12 weeks and you start to see fundamental length changes. So again, it's something which you've got to keep on working on for a while. The thing is that tissue stretches, no one ever got fat and their skin exploded. And what this means is a light stretch done really often for a long period of time will make tissue grow. And in the case of someone getting fat, their skin grows. And we know this because obviously when they lose weight, if they've gone very heavy, then the skin doesn't magically just snap back into position. It actually is still too much skin, too much physical skin has grown. And again, stretching hard, people think, oh, stretch harder, that's the problem. Well, stretching harder doesn't stimulate the growth any better, but it actually creates damage. And we can see this with people who get fat or even in pregnancy, stretch marks. That's essentially where the skin is being stretched at too fast of a rate, too hard of a rate, which is actually not able to keep up the pace of growth and actually creates scar tissue and therefore damage. So again, stretching hard is not the solution either. You've got to stretch light, but you've got to stretch often. Now the dose that I give is basically between 4 and 6 times a day, which sounds an awful lot, but bear in mind, it's little and often. So you apply a stretch for about 20 to 30 second hold, and then you stop. And then you repeat that through the course of the day. So the body's getting a constant signal all day long about this tissue is not as flexible as it should be. And therefore it shouldn't be creating soreness after you've done it, otherwise you're stretching too hard. And like I say, it doesn't take an awful long period of time at any given time. You just got to dedicate that time throughout the day to do that. And you've got to do that for months and months and months to get the true lengthening. Obviously, it will depend on how much flexibility you are needing to gain as to how long that's going to actually take. So basically stretching is effective, but you have to apply the right dose. You've got to stretch little and often, not too hard, and you will start to see some lengthening within tissue. Another great example is a patient I saw who had nerve root damage, like really severe, like internally ripped out of the neck, and they surgically reattached these nerves into the nerve roots. But his entire arm was a complete dead weight. He used to put his hand in his jacket pocket throughout the day just to take the weight of the arm out of it. So the weight of the arm is not super heavy, but there's a weight there, creating a tractional load on the shoulder joint, because obviously his muscles around the shoulder weren't functioning to support the joint in the socket. And over a long period of time, because it took a while for the nerve supply to return back down the arm, the tractional weight load through the arm, which was all day, every day, distended the actual joint capsule and ligaments in the joint to at least about that far down. So his joint, the ball and socket, had actually moved down. So the ball had moved down effectively. I could grab his arm, his humerus, and move it up by inches back to the socket and let it go. It just dropped back down again. There's actually a gap here by quite a long distance, simply because of a constant, light, all day, every day, long period stretch. So, like I say, first of all, you need to know if it's stretching is the solution, or is it strengthening, or is it something else? And then if it is stretching, then obviously you've got to target it in the right way. So like I say, 20 to 30 second holds and 4 to 6 times a day. Certainly you would never want to go lower than say 3 times a day, otherwise you probably aren't going to achieve it. If you've got your flexibility and you are naturally not always that flexible, then you need to maintain it once you've gained it. Obviously the good thing with the human body is it doesn't take as much to maintain as it does to gain, so you can stretch for like 10-second holds, and you can do that just 3 times a week as an example, and that would be sufficient hopefully to keep that there. The beauty of it is you monitor your range of movement. So if you're stretching 3 times a week and you're seeing loss of range gradually over time, you up it. If you're finding that it maintains it, that's your level. So that is the good thing with the body. It's easy to keep what you gain, but it's hard to gain it, and that you've got to put that work in first. So that's everything on stretching today, and I'll see you next time.